Konnan, did you watch AEW?
Yes, I did.
What was the number, Joe? I didn't even see the number.
I think it went up
832. 832,000.
32?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, so that's up from 770. It was down, yeah, so it's up a little bit. But last week was so low, of course, it would go back up. So, this show was they're doing all the.
You're still there, right, Konnan? Okay, all right. I'm gonna make sure the whole thing didn't freeze. All right, there you go.
So, Konnan, did you watch AEW?
Yes, I did.
All right, let me find it here. We'll go over the show. It was a very interesting show. What was the number, Joe?
832,000.
Yeah. They're in a rut because and it's funny too. This is hysterical. Okay, bro, Alvarez and the guy that he does the podcast with, not Dave, but
Sempervive.
Bro, they when they're reviewing the show now, they sound exactly like us.
Right.
Like the criticisms that we have of their creative are the exact same now. Everybody's understanding. It's like, like these stories are just, like the way they're telling stories are is just weird, so.
Right. And bro, the other day, which I doubt very highly Meltzer would have done 2 years ago, they asked him flat out, hey, it's your award. Who would you give Booker the year to? And he said, Paul Levesque. And I think that's what's happened is, this is what I think happened, Disco and Joe. I think that at the beginning, it was a honeymoon period. Everybody gave him a pass. They were new. It was exciting. It was different. It was giving you work to, the boys. And I think like that honeymoon period is way over with a lot of their followers. They're like, bro,
without a doubt,
this is not what we expected.
Right. Yeah. Well,
do you think there's anything to that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, because the numbers. Because the thing is, they can't ignore the numbers.
Right.
The numbers aren't good. And they're finally realizing why aren't the numbers getting good? And they're realizing months later, it's like, dude, because your episodic storytelling isn't good. And the stories are just whack. So we'll get in there because this is
let me throw one more call. So, and if you tuned in to hear Tony Khan's major announcement, again, you got swerved. We'll get to that when we get to it. Yeah.
But let me explain. So this was very interesting. There's been a lot of criticism of the show, and one of the criticisms that we've had repeatedly. Okay, what did they open up with on this show?
With a recap.
A recap.
Bro, we've been. Let me just say this. Wait, before you say it, let me just say this, bro. I'm not trying to be facetious, but we've been saying this, me and Disco, for 4 years. Yeah, you finally got to put in a recap. Yeah, I am being facetious, but bro. I mean, thank God you finally listened. Maybe the fans were complaining, but we've been saying it for 4 years.
Well, and plus two, that Sanjay, Jimmy Jacobs, somebody in that room said, hey, look.
Jarrett, Chris Jericho.
We only had 775,000 people watch the show last week. Around 100,000 people didn't see the show. Maybe we need to do a package to recap because a lot of people that watch our show missed it last week, and we needed to fill them in on what's been going on. And that
but let me tell you what baffles me is you listen to just about everything else the fans say, and I'm sure that fans have been saying this because it's got to be driving them wild because we're still fans, know. But you've got to think all the wrestlers there. All the producers, all the veterans, they had to be telling him, put a recap show. I don't know why it took this long, but it's finally here. Thank you.
Yeah. So hopefully they'll do that on the recap the things that went on all the other shows too. Okay. So they opened it with MGF and Renee Paquette in the back, and MJF needs 3 partners to take the Bullet Club Gold on tonight, so he needs some help. They go to the TV screen next there, and the scruffy bearded Adam Cole was on TV next to the. It's like, dude, if you're gonna be on TV, he looked like Joe Konnan, like he groomed himself like Joe does, without forgetting his Manscaped stuff. That Adam Cole looked like he needed Manscaped. Would you agree with that?
Yes, he did.
I mean, he looked like that was not ready for television.
We could hook you up, Adam. Yeah.
Yeah. So he praised MJF for being the longest reigning champion. So he just said MJF should accept Samoa Joe's offer to help. MJF said he didn't know if he would, and said he would successfully defend the Ring of Honor tag titles at Full Gear. So right off the bat, they're promoting the Ring of Honor stuff, and I'm like, whatever. So then Roderick Strong rolls in. He's yelling at him. Right. And he comes on the interview set. He called out MJF for leaving mid-conversation because he left. So he's talking to Adam Cole on the TV screen. He accused MJF of being the devil mask culprit, and Cole blew off strong and ended the video call. Then the person wearing the devil mask appeared on the screen. And
so,
was like,
can I tell you something about the devil mask?
Go ahead.
Well, the devil mask especially, it's got to be MJF. But I would rather they swerve us and give us somebody we don't expect. Because if MJF is the devil, you're going to be like, all right, you kind of knew it could be him. But let's just say, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head right here, that somebody behind the devil mask was, let's say, Ruby Soho, who, when they both started in the business or something, he hooked up with her before she had tattoos, and he doesn't recognize her, and she swore to get him back or something like that. I might be too high for that storyline, but.
Well, I don't think people really care who's in the devil mask because it's been staggered. When did it first appear? Like 6 weeks ago? And they show like once or twice. Like what's the big deal? It's like it's not even a thing. So Orange Cassidy.
They're trying to turn it into a big deal because they keep showing the devil mask. Like, who's behind this? So that's why I'm interested, because they're giving it attention.
But the guy in the devil mask isn't doing anything. It's just showing a guy in a devil mask. Like, he didn't attack. It's like, okay, like they show the guy like here's the devil mask guy again. Like he's just standing there, and they show a shot of him and he does nothing. So it's like, what? All right.
Right. Well, I think that the idea is who's behind the devil mask.
All right. So Orange Cassidy defends his title against Claudio. 17 minutes, he beats him. Orange Cassidy has some good offense, but whenever he does these spinning lucha things that end in like the stunner or DDT, it almost looks like the other guy's giving him the move. It's a little bit confusing on these sometimes. You notice that? Like, it doesn't spin around, he ends up in the stunner, and it's just you're wondering like who gave who the move there. Then John Moxley comes in the ring after the out of the guy. This was a kind of a weird beatdown because like it was for a very long time, but it didn't really look
and
like
the guy had to like carry him off of him. Remember, he like picked him up,
right, picked him up and carried him off like he was beating him to death.
Well, they're obviously gonna wrestle in full gear. Because you're going to come to it soon, the backstage promo. So that's why they did it.
Well, my point I was going to make is that all these factions and stuff, and why didn't his friends come in to help him? Like, they just let the guy come in and beat the piss out of him. That was it.
That's why.
Right.
I think, bro, this is kind of weird because when Castagnoli first, bro, did you see when he carried him up the stairs and then did the vertical suplex?
Yes.
What?
He's very strong.
He carried him in a vertical suplex up the stairs, dude.
Yeah.
His core strength must be ridiculous. But let me just say one thing about Castagnoli. Do you remember when he first came in and they were like kind of pushing him as, one of the top guys?
Right.
Yeah.
He loses a lot.
He does. Yeah. Well, well, Cassidy wins a lot.
Yeah.
He wins like he's got to have the best record of anybody in the company by far.
Yeah, Cassidy's like the underdog that takes a beating and then finally wins at the end.
Every time.
Right. Yep.
He did lose it, but it was for like a cup of coffee.
For one match, right? Yeah.
Right.
So,
he's got to have it back.
Right. So MJF was outside Kenny Omega's locker room and knocked on, and Jericho answered the door, and he asked if Omega was in the. MJF asked if Omega was there. Jericho smirked at him and closed the door. Then as MJF walked away, Wardlow showed up and choked him up against the wall. Right. And Wardlow said MJF took everything from him, and now he would take everything from MJF when he least expects it. And Wardlow released MJF, who gathered himself and walked around the corner. You know what MJF's character reminds me of now? It's kind of like the Miz a little bit. He's like doing like a lot of comedic stuff, like interacting with a lot of people, and he's not like the alpha male that he acted like a while back. And like Wardlow kind of punked him here. It's like, so then he walks around the corner, and then Caster, Bowens, and Billy Gunn were standing there, and Bowens held his fingers in his scissors and asked him to team with them, and MJF stormed away. And then Bowens told Caster that they hid backstage for nothing, and Caster apologized. This is all comedy. I'm not a fan of any of this stuff. All right, I think MJF is in this. There's a silly angle for MJF to be in. All right, what do you think about all this stuff so far?
Yeah, I would agree with everything you said.
So Moxley delivers a promo backstage.
But you got to remember, I told you yesterday, he's a lot like us. He likes a lot of comedy.
Right. Moxley did a promo. Basically said he's going to, he implied he should have had the first shot at Phoenix, and Moxley said he's not doing good, and maybe Cassie's just the wrong guy at the wrong place at the wrong time. And he's going to beat him up at Full Gear. Okay, so
good, effective promo. And let me tell you something. That Blackpool Combat Club, right?
Yeah,
bro, they're like stale right now.
Because
they need to do something new with them.
They were heels. Then they turned babyface for 5 minutes.
Danielson was with them too. Danielson ain't working.
Right, and then they're back being heels again. Which is kind of so. Oh, plus 2. So Andrade, the Danielson match against Andrade is when he broke his orbital bone. Okay. Right. So when Danielson wrestled that match last week against with Okada in there, Okada and whoever, okay,
right,
he wrestled with the broken orbital bone.
Right.
So when they did that angle at the end where they were selling it as a shoot, like his face is broken. Remember how they're awkward out on the show last week and everything?
Right.
They were selling it because they're selling it now that Cassidy's the one that did that to him. So now that's why Moxley's, because like Cassidy did that to Danielson, and now Moxley's going to set a Cassidy.
Oh, okay.
Which is weird when all the fans know that
you get all of that out of that.
Right. Well, because I read it. So
okay.
Yeah.
Did you say where the injury actually took place?
No.
Yeah, I saw that on that Andrade match, right?
Andrade, they banged heads.
Oh, is that what they did? They banged heads against each other?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. So all
and
of
he immediately just so you know, he immediately went to the corner and was clutching his eye.
Ouch.
Right. Okay. So the Hangman Page and the Jacksons against Toa Leona, Bishop Kaun, and Brian Cage for the Ring of Honor 6-man titles. They announced this match like people were complaining that they never announced this match, and they actually announced it 30 minutes before the show started on Twitter. And everybody's saying well, you should have announced the Elite being on the show because you could promote it, right? But they went out and had the match, and they did a spot where Swerve showed up, and Paige is mad because he sees Swerve because Swerve broke into his house last week. So Paige lets her in to get a Swerve and left the Elite there, and the Elite get beat. Okay, in 7.5 minutes. So they lose. And after the match, Matt Jackson was throwing a conniption fit and slamming chairs and everything because he was really mad. What'd you think about this?
Well, finally, the friend of the show, Cage, right? And what are these guys called? And what's the group called?
Yeah.
Moguls? What is
Embassy Inc.
Embassy or something. They're something of art agony or something.
The art about, but you're reading it. Look, what
they don't say what's his name. They just said it says Toa Leona, Bishop Count, and Brian Cage. They don't say.
Okay, but they have a name because they're part of some
something
faction.
of agony, right? I think it's something.
Swerve in our glory. Swerve in our glory.
No, it's something of agony. The two get Toa Leona and Bishop Count.
Are they with Swerve? Are they still with Swerve?
Yeah, they're part of the embassy, the Mogul Embassy.
The Mogul affiliates.
That's the group.
Yeah,
I'm talking about the tag team name of Toa Leona and Bishop. Right. Go look that up, Joe.
Well, anyways, finally, friend of the show, Cage, and his group finally win a match because they look like gold and they're always kind of booked like copper, bro. Right. Now, let me make that aluminum because Prince Nana's there. The only good thing about him is his dance, and that's about it. What else?
Gates of agony. Gates.
What?
Gates of agony.
Bro, I'm thinking to myself, Matt Jackson throws this humongous fit over losing the ROH titles. So what?
Right.
I mean, and I think they only did one defense, or this was their first defense.
Let me give you the Pals POV. This is pretty good. This is pretty spot on.
Right.
Anyway, throwing a tantrum over losing the Ring of Honor 6-man tag team titles in 2023 is like a coach blowing a gasket out over losing the college basketball NIT tournament. That reminds me. R.I.P. Bobby Knight. So the MJF is showing back.
And let me just say this one thing. I hope that the Young Bucks do turn heels because right now they're not clicking as faces. Did you talked about their backstage confrontation with Omega and Jericho yet?
Well, not Jericho. MJF and Jericho.
No. But did you talk about
Jericho answered the door?
And he slammed it.
Right.
No. The one between the Young Bucks and Jericho and Omega.
We haven't had that yet. I haven't got it.
Okay. All right.
So MJF was shown preparing to knock on Samoa Joe's door, but he stopped and walked to the next door, which had Darby's name on it. He took a plastic sign and wrote emo on it and said loser. When MJF turned around, the scissor guys are there again, and Caster held an this was so silly, bro. Caster had a sign that said MJF pick us, and he pointed at it, and MJF walked away, and Bowens was like, Max, I mean, this is, I don't know. What do you think of this?
Ridiculous, but it's, I just think, who thinks this is funny?
Well, bro, the funniest thing about this is that there's two threads on the show. The MJF thread, and then we're going to have the Jericho Kenny Omega thread. Then they're all about finding partners for their match. That's the thread of each thing. We're going to find, we're having a match, we need a partner, right? on the same show, two of the exact same storylines going.
Right.
So Tony Schiavone stood inside the ring, introduced Adam Copeland. Copeland called Sting getting in his face. It was pretty good, the tone of this when he came out. He said, "Well, Sting on my face." Like, it's kind of like,
right.
He was right, So Copeland said that people may have been confused by Sting, saying they went way back, and he said they do. He said they have the same injuries and use each other as a sounding board. And Copeland also praised Darby, and he said people want to know if he will team with Sting and Allen at Full Gear. Cage comes out with Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne and said he wanted to paint a picture for Copeland before he makes his decision. Cage claimed he will retire Sting at Full Gear and spoke about Allen's gimp arm. Cage said he didn't need to remind everyone about Copeland's neck problems. Cage said he hated to see Copeland's fairy tale turn to a nightmare. And Cage started walking to the ring with his crew and told Copeland to back down or he would snap his neck and leave him in a wheelchair. Cage told Luchasaurus and Wayne to give Copeland a preview. The Luchasaurus and Wayne rushed the ring and were fought off by Copeland. When you use a green kid, you're going to have green spots. Did you see the spot where,
right?
Like, I guess he was supposed to get kicked.
They weren't on the same page. Yeah.
Right. The kid just stood there and bent over, like waiting for him to kick him. And even Jason Powell noticed this. There was an awkward spot where Copeland and Wayne weren't on the same page, but they got back on track. Copeland caught Cage entering the ring, but Luchasaurus hit Copeland's neck from behind, and Wayne followed up with a cutter. Wayne slid Cage chairs for a concerto. Then Sting made his entrance and disposed of Wayne once he charged at him on the ramp, and Darby Allin ran past Sting and tackled Cage. Copeland cleared Luchasaurus in the ring. Cage put the boots to all Allen, and when Cage turned around, Copeland speared him. Copeland picked up the mic and said Cage wants to snap his neck, but he's going to beat his. It's on you little. Copeland said. Copeland told Sting and Allen that if they want a partner of Full Gear, he was their man. And him and Sting hugged. Like Sting finally got to him and convinced him that Cage is terrible. What did you think of it?
I thought this was a simple, predictable segment that worked, and that they booked it to get reactions. For example, you knew when Edge came out, Christian was going to come out. You knew when Christian sent those two guys into the ring that they were going to get handed to them. But we got a big pop when he got speared. And then, of course, Sting came out with Darby Allin, and they got another reaction. So it was just, a simple angle that worked. Now you got Copeland in the 6-man, and they're kind of building Full Gear earlier than they usually do, because they usually stuff everything in the go-home show. And you're like, what?
So next, imagine we get into Tony Khan backstage, and Tony Khan's big announcement he had previewed for a couple of days was that tickets are going on sale for all AEW All-In back in Wembley for next August. And they go on sale December 1st, but the fans don't have to wait that long. They can sign up for pre-sale. What do you think about this big announcement, Konnan? Let me read your pal's POV. The little boy who cried wolf strikes again. There's no reason Khan couldn't have labeled his announcement to be related to All In. Instead, he turned into a cheap rating stunt. Weak.
Yeah, that wasn't necessary. It wasn't necessary to be on a show, first of all. And second of all, it definitely wasn't necessary to be like, make sure you watch.
You're stating the obvious, right? The funny thing is, I wonder what Tony's reaction is, seeing how the dirt sheet guys are kind of turning on him a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't they are turning, but they're finally they're probably getting heat from their fans. Hey, bro, why the f- are you so pro this or pro that? And people want realism. They don't want jaded journalism anymore. They just want to read what's going on, not your opinion.
The best thing to turn things around is when people are honest criticism, and you challenge the creative to turn things around and improve, which is what people bury the WWE for years. They finally turned it around. Now their creative isn't getting buried like it used to be.
Now, Konnan, you said honest criticism, which is, of course, what K100 does. I was going to say some other shows or journalists, and see if you agree with me on this. There's actually probably more interest than money in burying AEW. People want to hear that. Like Disco just said, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? If you're going to have clips up that say AEW blows it with such and such, people are going to watch that more than they're going to watch a video that says, AEW brings in flair, ! Point. They want to hear the negative. They want to hear you be negative.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Well, the funny thing, like the Mark podcasters too, are always like, excellent show. What a great show. And it's like the number comes out and it's like, no, this wasn't a good show. It's like, you guys are, you can be honest about what you're watching unless you're cheerleading for them. If you keep cheerleading for shows that aren't good, the shows are not going to improve. That's pretty, like if the numbers come out and the numbers aren't good and you thought it was great, that doesn't really help. Because if he wants to listen to all the people telling him he's great, they're not going to change anything, So that's an issue.
Let me tell you, he how many times has he failed on? We got a big announcement, and it isn't
every time,
and
well, the Ring of Honor one could have been considered a big announcement at that time.
Well, here's the problem, bro. If he's gonna go out there, he needs to announce something like, "Hey, we got a new TV deal for 3 years," or "Hey, we're gonna tour China," or like that, right? And it's almost like if remember when I told you that angle that I did in Puerto Rico, where I told Stacy to get dressed because I wanted her dad to get dressed because in the ring I was going to make a major announcement.
Right, and then you end up hitting her with the guitar.
Right, but basically I was going to tell her that I was going to marry her, right?
Right.
That's what. But bro, that would be the same as you telling your girl to get dressed up. That you have a major announcement. She's probably thinking you're going to put a ring on it or go to Hawaii for a cruise or something. You bring her to Dairy Queen, to tell her that you bought tickets to see Sinbad and the Bahama Boys. Do you remember them? Nothing. You know who the Bahama Boys are, Disco?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just took a look real quick to add on to what we were saying before, Disco, and even number one fanboy JD from New York is turning against AEW on his clips recently, so it's spreading.
No, he hasn't. He said last week. He even said it was an excellent show.
Well, the one I
like
saw,
775,000. Like he criticized some of the segments, but he still thinks the show's great.
Yeah,
It's like, he's
like his screenshot here is more hype and nothing from Tony Khan.
Yeah. Right.
Why would you care what he says?
His side of things are against the Flair signing, so that's another reason.
Okay, but my question is, why do you care what he thinks?
Oh, I don't care. I was just giving.
Well, that's the Mark podcast.
You
community. You kind of get a gauge of what they're like. That's how you get what they're what they think.
Well, okay, let me ask you a question. Since what could you or Joe tell me that I probably am not aware of from Mark Podcaster that fan base likes?
No, that's not the point. I'm telling you, these are the guys that praise the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like the cheerleader guys, and you're kind of like, this is how you know they're the cheerleaders.
If they're turning against it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not. They're saying nothing that I would have to put any stock in at all. It's like this is what the schmucks are saying. That have this. The loser fans. The bottom of the barrel.
You're listening to that schmuck because I don't
listen to him. I just see some of his tweets sometimes because it's in my. It comes up in the first my For You or whatever. So yeah,
like a guilty pleasure type deal.
No, it's just my For You. I get a lot of wrestling content on my Twitter thing.
Okay.
You have to mention the people that you follow in the For You. The For You, I'll get a lot of people I don't follow, like wrestling people, like his clips come up sometimes. So what do we got here? So okay. Oh, so then we do Jericho and Omega against our boys, the 2.0 guys, and they unfortunately they lose to Jericho. And I would like to beat Jericho.
I'm surprised you didn't bring this up because this is one of your pet peeves. How about when the guy handed the other guy a baseball bat in front of the referee, and she didn't take it away or suspend it, and he hit Jericho, and he still continued to wrestle.
Right.
What?
Good thing JR wasn't on commentary.
So after the match, John Callis comes up and cuts a promo on them. He's got what's their names? Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita and who's the other guy? Takeshita,
Hobbs.
And Hobbs, right? Okay. So Omega said that Kota Ibushi would be on their team, and then Cal said they were still a man short. Cal said no one is bigger than Hobbs, and Jericho said Hobbs isn't a giant. And then Paul White comes out just as geared, so Paul White's going to team with Jericho. What do you think about that?
What do you think about it? And then I'll tell you.
It's kind of underwhelming, I don't know.
Yeah. It's fine by me, but again, that's not something that fan base is really going to be like, yeah, Big Show or Paul White. That's not their guy.
Well, let me tell you something about. First of all, I thought Callis was entertaining on commentary. And, bro, that guy Takeshita, he never wrestles. Why don't they have Takeshita and Hobbs getting heat or wrestling? Like, come on. And obviously, and, we're good friends with Big Show, all right? So we're stating, not hating. And obviously, Big Show and Jericho were a good tag team. But, bro, remember when they were the Jericho Show? What a whack name. But remember when they were the Jericho Show?
Yeah, WWE.
They were a tag team.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't watching.
It's like 2010-ish.
Yeah, I wasn't watching.
Good memory, Joe. Yeah, it was around there. And they're probably boys. But, bro, they were partners 13 years ago when he was in his mid-30s. He's like 50-something now. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know if you noticed when he was standing, he looked kind of like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. He was leaning a little bit to the side. I don't know if maybe his hip up bothering him again or
Maybe. But here's what the reason I think they put him in the match is I think they want Hobbs to give him a spine buster or slam him to put Hobbs over.
That could be it. That could be it.
That's what I was thinking. Like, they're putting him in there so Hobbs can do a big spot with him. They can replay whatever.
That could be it.
Okay, so here's your favorite spot. Paquette was interviewing Omega Jericho in the locker room while Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson in the background. And Jericho spoke about the street fight until Matt interrupted him. Matt asked what the point of putting the Elite back together was and asked Omega if he forgot about what this did to their father all those years ago. Jericho told the Jacksons not to take out their frustration over losing the Ring of Honor 6-man titles on him. Omega said Jericho's with them in their fight against the Callis family, and Matt told Omega that Jericho and Callis are cut from the same cloth. Matt told them to enjoy the locker room and clean it up once they were finished. So they got heated out with each other because of Jericho's in there. And they actually should. That makes sense. Why should they be? Why should Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, be accepting that Chris Jericho's in their locker room now?
Right. And not only that, it was very good dialogue. It wasn't so stupid they've been doing lately, which means nothing and doesn't resonate. Like you were like, good promo. Right. That's what it was.
Yeah, it makes sense. Right. They're not acting like idiots. They're like they're like this guy. What do we screw you? Whatever. It's like,
yeah.
And prior to that, Don was great as always, probably a result of the conversation we had when we were chilling in the cut last week. I gave him a couple pointers and stuff. So I think I could see him utilize that on TV. A couple of lines.
Hikaru Shida versus Willow Nightingale in a match that was completely not believable to me because Willow Nightingale looks like she should just beat this girl up because she's a lot bigger than her.
She's like 3 times bigger than her.
Right. And so, but Shida wins in 10 minutes, and then Toni Storm comes out, was accompanied by her butler, Luther. I didn't even know she had a butler named Luther. Shida exited the ring and knocked something out of Luther's hand, and Storm was posing and seated on the stage when Shida ran up and hit her with a knee strike. Then she ripped Storm's robe off and chased her to the back. So then the lights go out, and when they turn on the ominous Julia Hart. Brother, it's hysterical how they try to portray her as like this Michael Myers type character. She was standing.
Like you're supposed to be afraid of her, like ominous. I love that.
She was standing in the ring behind Willow, who turned around and offered a handshake. Okay, so this guy Blue ran out and went face to face with Hart, who nodded at her. Then Blue turned around and stared at Willow, but turned around again and sprayed the blue. I guess she sprayed the blue mist at Hart because they didn't see any mist, and then Hart was selling it.
No, she did spray it. She did spray it. She missed like all of her face and got a little bit of her chin and all of her neck.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay, because I didn't.
Yeah, they showed it. Yeah.
Like I didn't see it hit her in the eye. So
no, it didn't. It didn't. But I read today on Twitter, and I'm going to assume it's true, that Willow had lost a number 1 contenders match, and her next match was this one. I'm like, okay. So you don't even follow your own rules. Let me just say this again. I'm not into Shida, right? I'm not into Sky Blue. She's mega disinterested, even with hanging out, which after girls do anyways. She was in jeans here.
This week. She had jeans.
She was in jeans here. I don't know how she got the miss, how she mixed it, but she missed her face. All right. But let me just tell you this, and this is so obvious. Bro, this chick came out for 10 seconds and was way more entertaining than the match or anybody in the angle, Toni Storm.
Right.
That was awesome. And she was only out there 10 seconds.
So next back, Bowens and Caster, and then make one more pitch to MJF. Caster said they would team with him if he scissored them and wore what was in a trash bag he handed to him. And MJF looked inside the bag and said no, told him to leave. And when he turned around, he saw Jarrett's crew there, and they said they would team with him. So this is all still silly. Some Paquette stood backstage, and Avery said was interrupted by Roderick Strong, Taven, and Bennett. Why is the guy carrying around a giraffe?
Right. Because he probably thinks like the guy that had the purple hat. That's funny.
Or that's kind of like when I had the duck,
Hager,
which was actually a goose.
Right.
Remember that?
That actually was funny.
Taven carries it?
Yeah, it carries a giraffe around, a toy giraffe. Then Strong called Adam Cole and asked if he could believe that MJF didn't ask him to be his partners. And Cole told Strong to shut up. All right. Then Bullet Club. So then they have the main event, and Jay White beats MJF clean.
Yeah, that's incredible because MJF doesn't do a lot of jobs. And what does that tell you? if he's losing in this match.
Well, of course, he's going to beat him. So after the match, White was sent him to hit MJF with the belt. Caster, Bowens, and Billy pulled Robinson and the Guns to the floor. The White waited for MJF to stand up and tried to hit him with the belt, but Caster returned and shoved MJF out of the way, and then he took the belt shot, and then MJF chased White out of the ring, and then BCG crew headed to the stage, and MJF stood on the ropes and watched the Bullet Club Gold and joined Bowens and Gunn in checking on Caster. Caster held up his scissors fingers, and MJF shoved his hand away, and then Billy jawed and got mad at MJF, and all four babyfaces back to separate corners, and ended the scissors routine to a big pop, and a kneeling Caster hugged MJF and patted his backside until MJF shoved him aside, and MJF went to the ropes and joined his teammates and played to the crowd to end the show. What did you think of this?
Was this guy going to come out and something? What's going on?
I don't
what
get
is going on here?
Where these stories are not, they're like interesting, but they're not interesting like you care where they're going. It's like there's no heat, it's like, why does this guy have the hots for him? You know, is he, like you said, is he going to come out? It's like, is his character, has its character
also,
I mean, there's been no storytelling here with that. It's just like he's just hitting on him.
Right.
And I'm like,
well, maybe there is a story. Maybe there is something coming up. Let's see. You know,
who knows? Right.
Right. But MJF. No, MJF loves getting pops, and he knew when they did that 4-way scissor thing, he was going to get a pop. And he's so hot, he can make anybody right now.
Right.
And it appears to me to answer the very important draft question from earlier that Taven has it because Roderick Strong gifted it to him during one of those skits in the house. So now he carries it.
Well, here's the problem. Okay, this is the problem with the MJF and all these angles and stuff that he's in. But bro, these angles are kind of like, it's like Seinfeld, but there's no heat in Seinfeld. It's just comedy. These are like Saturday Night Live skits, and like I'm not like there's nothing that's happening in these things that makes me want to see any of these guys fight each other. Like, would you agree with that, Konnan? Like, there's just no heat in this in these stories.
There's very little. There's very little heat and a lot more comedy. Is that the way they're going to be going for a while? I don't know, but a good story with good heat, there's nothing better than that, and you can add some comedy to it. But so everybody, I also want to say something real quick. So I thought they did a better job than usual. I think I said this at the beginning, but I thought they did a better job than usual because a lot of matches are already set for Full Gear, and usually it's like, the go home show, they try to, throw 15 pounds, 10-pound bag. So I like that. And I like the recap. So I will say that. Now, what sticks out to you that interests you on the show? Did you see the show, Joe, or no?
Most of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing. And actually, and I hate to say that, but I liked the Jericho and Omega thing. Swerve's always entertaining. Callous. But I was going to say before, I just had to look up the card because I was kind of racking my brain going, other than MJF and Jay White, what are they building towards on the pay-per-view? I wasn't sure.
Right.
So, but it's exactly like you said earlier about
they got Moxley and Orange Cassidy, right?
Yes. Paige and Strickland, Sting, Darby, and Adam Copeland versus Christian Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne, Sheeta versus Storm, and MJF and his partner versus the Guns on a pre-show. That's it.
Bro, if they don't give that title to the Storm, they're missing the boat.
That's been our AEW review.
Boom.